Hi everyone! Welcome back to our channel. This is the part 3 of Article 6, the Legislative Branch. In this video, we will talk about the powers of the Congress. First is what we call the inherent powers. These are the powers that the President and the Congress need in order to get the job done right. Under this category, we have the following. First, police power. This is the right to protect the country and its population from threats to the public health and safety. Second, power of taxation. This is the ability of the government to impose and collect taxes. Third, power of eminent domain. This is the power of the government to take private property and convert it to public use. Next, the power to make laws. This power refers to the overall authority to enact laws for the people and the state. Let's take a closer look at this power. The draft of the law is what we call bill. Every bill must embrace only one subject, and it shall be expressed in the title. Any bill that violates this provision is null and void. Now, how does a bill becomes a law? Step 1. Bill filing. Only members of the Congress can draft a bill. The person who presents the bill is called author. He or she may be joined by others, who are known as co-authors. Step 2. First reading. The title, bill number, and author's name are read on the floor, after which it is referred to the proper committee. Step 3. Committee hearings and reports. Committee conducts hearings and consultation meetings. The committee members are experts in all sorts of different fields. They are tasked to review, research, and revise the bill. They can also invite experts and resource speakers. Step 4. Calendar for second reading. The committee report with its approved bill version is submitted to the Committee on Rules for calendaring for second reading. Step 5. Second reading. In the second reading, sponsorship speeches, debates, and amendments take place. Step 6. Voting on the second reading. The members will vote on the second reading version of the bill. If approved, the bill is calendared for third reading. Step 7. Voting on the third reading. Printed copies in its final form will be distributed to its members. In this part, the title of the bill is read, no amendment is allowed, the yeas and nays are entered in the journal. If the bill is approved, it is referred to the other chamber. Step 8. Referral to the other chamber. When the House or Senate passes a bill, it is referred to the other house where it follows the same procedure by conducting the 3 readings also. If the House-approved version is compatible with that of the Senate version, the final version's enrolled form is printed. Step 9. Bicameral conference. If there are differences in the versions approved by the Senate and the House, a bicameral conference committee is organized to harmonize the bill. If the bicameral conference committee agree on the same thing, they will submit a report on the reconciled version of the bill duly approved by both chambers. Step 10. Submission to the Malacanang. Under the step, there are 3 options: approved, vetoed, and lapsed into law. Let's talk about these options one by one. First, approved. Once it is approved by the President, it becomes a Republic Act and takes effect 15 days after publication in the official gazette or at least 2 national newspapers of general circulation. Second, vetoed. If the President vetoes the bill, it will return to the originating House with an explanation on why it was vetoed. The House can either accept the veto or override it with a 2/3 majority vote. Last, lapse into law. A bill is said to have lapsed into law if the President fails to act on it within 30 days after receiving the bill. On this part, the bill becomes a law. Let's move on to another power, the power of taxation. This is exercised by the Congress. The Constitution mandates the Congress to have a progressive system of taxation. The progressive tax system ensures that all taxpayers pay the same rates on the same levels of taxable income. The overall effect is that people with higher income pay higher taxes. Now let's talk about tax exemption. The following will be exempted from tax. First, charitable institutions. Second, churches. Third, mosques. Fourth, non-profit cemeteries. And last, all lands, buildings and improvements, revenues, donations, grants, contributions, and assets of non-education institution directly and exclusively used for religious, charitable, or educational. It is also important to take note that the Congress cannot pass tax exemption without concurrence of majority of its members. Moving on to the power of the purse. How does the power of the purse works? To make it simpler, this power works like your mom and your allowance. You can't have your allowance unless your mom opens her purse. She may also place limits on how you spend. The Congress does this also when they allocate money to certain agencies. An appropriation law is necessary before public funds may be spent by the government for its projects. Now let's go back to your allowance. If your mom doesn't like the way you spend your money, she can withhold the money until you promise to spend it wisely. Or she can also decrease your allowance, or the worst case, you will never have your allowance again. Similarly, the Congress can also refuse to increase the budget recommended by the President. The Congress is also not allowed to appropriate public funds for a religious purpose. For example, public funds must not be used to pay for the expenses arising from a birthday celebration of a Protestant pastor who may have close ties to politicians. Now let's talk about the budget process of the Philippine government. There are 4 phases in managing the budget process. First, budget preparation. The executive prepares the proposed national budget. Second, budget legislation. Congress reviews and amends the budget and enacts it into a law. Third, budget execution. Agencies utilize their approved budgets. Last, budget accountability. The executive monitor and evaluate the use of budget. Next, the power to approve treaties. The Constitution stipulates that no international treaty or agreement shall be valid without the agreement of 2/3 of the members of the Senate. Moving on to the power to declare existence of war or the emergency powers. The Congress has the sole power to declare the existence of a state war. Here is the vote requirement. 2/3 of both houses in joint session voting separately must agree to the declaration. Now let's talk about the power to delegate emergency powers. In times of war or other national emergency, the Congress may by law authorize the President to exercise powers necessary and proper to carry out a declared national policy. However, there are limitations. The powers will be exercised for a limited period, only subject to restrictions prescribed by the Congress. And there is also an expiration of the emergency powers. This may be withdrawn by a resolution of the Congress. Next, the power to determine the rules of its proceeding. Rules of procedures are the rules made by the law-making body to regulate the manner of conducting its deliberations. The election of the officers and penalties to be imposed on members are proper subjects of the rules of procedures. For our last power that we will discuss in this video, it is the power to conduct inquiries. Under this category, we have legislative inquiry and question R. First, let's talk about legislative inquiry. This is a process held in the Congress conducted to compulsory obtain requisite information from witnesses in the aid of legislation. In other words, legislative hearings enable the public to know and understand the problem which a proposed law is seek to solve. Now here are the limitations. First, the inquiries must be in aid of legislation. Second, if the purpose of the investigation is to determine the violations of the law, the investigation is no longer in aid of legislation, but in aid of prosecution. This violates the principle of separation of powers and is beyond the scope of congressional powers. Third, it must be in accordance with the duly published rules of procedure of the Congress. And last, the rights of the persons appearing shall be respected. Next is question R. This is an inquiry conducted to obtain information from the heads of the departments on matters pertaining to programs, activities, and management of the department. The limitation: the department heads are not required to appear against their will or when prohibited by the president. That's the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and if you have friends, share this video. Thank you and see you in the next video.